So for the record, it's February 5th, 20 minutes behind. That sounds typical for a Sean Green training. All right, and so today we are talking about members and all the sweet things about members. So I'm going to go into the test group club, which is what I use frequently to be able to kind of do sandbox type of thing, right? And demonstrate things. So yeah, today we're on the members, right? That's dark blue tab right here. And I always tell people that if they don't have this out, they should always open up this left navigation, right? Because this thing gives you everything you need, right? But this also gives you some of that, if you're looking at it from a tree view, it gives you some of those extra things to view and kind of helps to make that navigation a little bit simpler. So from the members tile, we could click on in there. If we were to think about updating membership, right? It's really however the club wants to do it. But one way that I feel like is going to be very beneficial is to use tag, right? So there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to see that maybe that you're going to see here today, right? That you will not see in your own viewpoint, right? And that's because I'm an admin of everything. And so like things like the user tags and stuff like that, that's not actually going to show up. But the things that will show up are things like the member tags, right? So one thing that I thought about when I was talking with some other students is a way to go ahead and update the membership based on using member tags, right? So you can use member tags to do a lot of different things, but if you're going to create a new member tag, you would do, some clubs have active members versus just general membership, right? Active members can vote on things and conduct business, right? So you can maybe have tags that say active member, right? And then, you have a tag like that, right? And then you were able to kind of tell, like, say somebody graduated, right? You can then tell who you started with at the beginning of, say, the fall, right? With your tags, and then who is now no longer an active member, then you can take them away. And then you can be able to remove them, right? So if I wanted to say, I'm gonna take Carol off this just because she's the first one I just added back on here is, if I wanted to say take a member off, right? I would go ahead and I would select on this. And then instead of actually going down here, which you'd think you could actually have to go up here to this one and then hit delete. And then that can remove them as a user. Now they're no longer on here, right? And that's pretty basic that you're going to see that for anything that you use on any type of, I've seen that all throughout my life, basically as ways to, manage things, right? And so that's one big aspect here, but I want you to think about, like, hey, you have those member tags, you can also have those subgroup tags, right? So you can maybe have, I guess I want you to think about this in a lot of different ways. You could have maybe like you could say maybe fall membership, right? And then let's just create a spring membership as well. Let's take that one off though, but we have a fall, and then maybe we do it by year, right? So then we can do 24, and then a 25. And then, you basically, as you can continue to go down and build this, right? Like you can do a 23, right? And so now we have our main tags, right? And then we have our sub tags like that. So you could say like, hey, they've been a member for the fall of 23, 24, and 25, right? And then that's how maybe that's helpful as a way to remember how like they've been an active member for this long, or they have, there's a lot of different functions, right? I will show you how I kind of use some of these tags with ELT, right? To be able to do a lot of things. Now my tags are a little bit more crazy, but they help, right? So my tagging is kind of built on a bigger scheme, right? So I have my tags, right, based off of not only the type of club, right? So if it's, we have 3 different bases of clubs, right? We have our interest-based hobby, our identity, our affinity, or our academic and professional. So they're based on the color coded based on that. But then they're also coded based on, we know what specific role, everybody's technically an officer, but we know that every specific main role is its own thing, and then the advisor, the co-advisor. And so that's how I can keep track of, say, every spring or fall when I've got to update the membership of the officers, I can kind of look and see, hey, is this all the same as what I had at fall? And so when I go down and I look at my member tab, right, I'm going to see kind of like that in a lot of ways, right? So it's that easy to let me be able to identify, hey, this is an advisor for this specific club that's an academic or professional based club. And I can tell that based off of the color, and I can tell that obviously based off of the tag. But I mean, you want your tagging to be able to tell a story, and in this case, how does it tell a story for your members, right? And that's one way of doing it. I mean, you guys could have your completely own way of handling that, that doesn't use Wolfpack Connect at all. But I think the big thing is let Wolfpack Connect be able to utilize that technology for your own uses, right? Make things a little bit easier. So that's just one big area here of that, right? I'm gonna kind of go through some of the other members' stuff, but I want to quickly ask though, all the questions on that. I mean, I know that can get very complicated, uh, the more that you get into it, especially with tagging and filtering like that. But I want to just see, like, does anyone have any questions before I kind of just give a generalized sense? Because yes, I've been asked a lot about updating membership, and I want to make sure that I'm giving everyone a chance to kind of know, like, hey, how would you update membership? This is how I would do it, right? That's the best way. So yeah, any questions at all? Yeah.
Any question about, because you were setting it to active, is
Yeah.
that going to be something you always have to manually do, or is there some way to track it by itself?
Yeah, you would have to go ahead and do it manual. And so like the first time it would be a pain in the butt, right? Because you're doing it through X amount of members that you have. But I mean, I know that, you may have a good chunk of members graduate that you may not know, like, they go by a different name now, but, the Club Lorazo, they used to, they had a thing where if they had came to 5 different meetings, right? They became an active member, which gave them voting rights, right? And so then, I can tell you if I looked at their membership now or on their officers, right? They have multiple officer roles listed, though I know that that's not the case. And you have a very disorganized and cluttered system. So the first time you have to do it, it's going to take a little bit, right? But after you do that, you're just going, you're going based on just delete, 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 and finding. And I would also tell you, make sure your members are actually being engaging with you, right? You're the officer. Send a thing out at the beginning of each semester saying, hey, I want you to be able to send me what your specific, like, are you still an active member? I want you to respond back by this date. If you're not, you're getting removed, right? And then you have the list, then you can know we can do it and take it off of, right? So another thing that I want to show with that can kind of help, right, is that we can export a lot of these things. Like I'm a bigger fan of Excel, honestly. So, let's use that, we can use that to our benefit. So, one thing that if you're always selecting, if you're gonna pull a report, right, you always want to make sure you're selecting everybody, because it's only gonna select that first 20 if you don't. But you can generate a report and then it will pull it as a CSV file, which will then put it in that, Excel, and then you can open that and be able to view. And hey, now I know all my members. Now you're gonna have to do some specific formatting. I always like to, get rid of, again, you may not have every one of these specific columns, right? But you may have ones that relate, right? Like a member identification number, right? That's gonna be important. But these, some specifics there, right? If I'm just going to try to clean this up very quickly. You might have this officer thing, which will tell you is 0, 1, right? If so, I can tell right now, like looking at mine, right? Like these 3 individuals are officers, right? Because they've got that 1 there versus that 0, Cassie and that or not. I tell you exactly things like how they were added on, right? This will be important in terms of how you know whether or not you have a contact versus an actual member. Contacts usually, generally, pulled into the group based on if they checked into an event for the first time and they weren't a member previously, or they opened an email or something like that. They kind of like, they kind of latched onto your member, onto your club, but they're not fully a member yet. And so that might be a good, useful way. I kind of talked about that a little bit in past in the events trainings, is that might be a good way to, find a way to reach out to them and engage with them, because they're interested to some extent to either come to an event, open an email, submit a survey or a form. But now let's try to find a way to actually get them connected and actually become a member of the club, right? But yes, so there's gonna be a lot of information here, but this information can be useful because then you can say, I want to clean up and I want to say, take out, this many members, and now this is who I want left. Now I'm gonna take this, which is just the email addresses, right? I'm gonna take those, and now I can basically go in and say, I want to we're still members, right? I want to paste this list in, dropping it with the emails, right? And now I'm gonna do search, and it's gonna pull up just those individuals, right? And so say that what I deleted in the Excel file were the ones I wanted to keep, and these are the ones I want to get rid of. Now I can select this entire amount, right? And then I can just get rid of them, right? And I can delete them. So yeah, kind of back to your thing, right? Like, it can be a pain in the butt, right? But there are ways when you're dealing with a lot of members to really make this a lot easier by pulling a report and then doing a lot of that work on Excel and then dumping it right back in, right? And when I have to do and actually remember, like do the admin management for all users, I used to do that all the time. And that's how I kind of know who is new versus who's a graduate, right? But that's a big way that you could do that. And again, once you've got all those tags set, that's gonna be helpful. Now, again, you're gonna see a lot of different things in some of these, things, and some of them I have been very open with the fact that when I know them, I will be, I'll tell you, and when I don't, I have no clue, right? Because some of these are a little bit weird. So we can have some like left the group, right? This is kind of tell you who I've deleted, so Carol's gonna be in there, right? And then we have our, I'm gonna say we have our contacts, prospects, right? We're gonna have nothing there. Members, unsubscribed members, there was usually people who unsubscribe to the email so that they don't want to get notifications anymore. And then, yeah, you're gonna have your not validated members, but then you're gonna have your contacts, right? So we're gonna look at this and say, oh, answer a survey or form or add as a member by group officer. So this one I don't really know. I can't really answer as to how this one got added on. But yeah, this kind of goes along with what I was talking about. They add the survey or form and then they got added on, right? And so I would know how to kind of send them a specific thing. All right, but back to I guess back to the main stuff here though, so if I wanted to say send all my members an email, again, I explained this in the emails training though, and now I'm going to show it to you in the different viewpoint, because I touched on this. I said there are many different ways to do some of this, a lot of things, right? I can go into emails and do the same thing by selecting it based off of their type. If I compose an email, I can easily compose it, and then I can go ahead and check on my members. I can select, hey, I got all of them, and now I can go ahead and rock with that, right? But there are other ways to do that, that sometimes are going to be easier than others. It just depends on your flow. But this is another way of doing that. I can select this and send an email. It will take me to the same thing that you just saw, which is that asking about which way do I want to compose that email. But it's the same process. It's just different ways of getting there, right? So if you want to say reach out to all of your members, that's one way of doing it. This send mobile notification, someone just asked me about this, and I'll tell you that is doesn't really do what it's supposed to be doing, or what I guess maybe they advertise it was supposed to be doing. It instead just sends a mobile push notification really is supposed to just send a chat notification of it with your chat feature up here. There's a send a thing up there, and from what I've at least experienced. So who knows what it may do, really, I guess, but that's all I've seen so far, as what it can do. So that is kind of a little bit disappointing, but yeah, there was this chat feature. I think we don't utilize it enough, right? It can be a very useful feature to, connect. I mean, it's got all the other features that you would think with like Teams or anything. But say you have a team, say you guys are making an event and you want to do something, you can use a chat feature. So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna stop and give a quick throw out for questions. Do we have any questions so far? No, if we do not. Cool. All right. So, yeah, a lot of different things here as we just kind of go around, right? Like, now I have one thing that I definitely showed is, I think it was from, that group was probably, there's one of them, but it was because the membership date had ended, right? And so that membership date ended, well, you can set membership dates. That's another thing that you could do that could maybe be useful for updating membership, right? So I also explained that in the settings training, right? But you can specifically set an actual date, if
For each member?
for each specific individual member, right? If you decide not to go through the route of doing it through settings, right? In settings, there is that opportunity to be able to set the actual membership duration, right? And you can do it through a few different, criteria or whatnot. But if you decide not to go down that route, right, but you still want to put on some sort of time limit or timetable on them, you could do it through each individual member or the entire group of members through that actual SI membership end date, right? So, which, hey, could be pretty cool, right? And then a few other things here that we could do, right? Now I'm going to I'm going to build something here first, so that I can kind of explain it a little bit better. So, tests, as we all already know, you have to have some specific criteria when you're building a test, when you're building an event itself. So we want to set this for, let's say, 3 p.m., right? And 4 p.m. That looks all good. And I think we should be able to create this event. All right, so the event's created. We have an event, right? So we go back to our members tab right now, and we want to do some different things with that, right? So let's, we want to say have a specific, planning team that get certain things done for your event, right? I mean, I don't know who is called coming to Winterfest, right? But maybe you have a specific, you guys have been talking in your group and you're like, we're going to Winterfest and this is what we want to bring to the table and what we want to do. And this is the planning of the prep that we have to do, right? You can use some of these features to allow yourself to kind of put it down on paper. And when I say paper, I'm not talking digital here, but you can assign checklists, right? Like you can go ahead and create a checklist. And then that, you'd have to actually put them in. It would take you right into, obviously my things are a little bit built right now, but you could actually create a checklist at that point and pull them over into that, right? That's one cool thing that you can do. You could, again, I'm gonna throw Carol back in here, actually. So, if you don't know, you could add numbers in this here as well. I think that was kind of self-explanatory. But yeah, so we have Carol back in. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put, let's see here, what else I can do. Add to it. That's what I meant to do. Here we go. So we can add to an event. So right, I want to add her as an attendee to the event. So we have my event that I just did, right? So that's gonna load. And then now I can go ahead and add, and boom, now she's on that event, right? So if you know that maybe you want a specific individual that you want to set, connecting to an event, you can do this as a cool feature. Now, I would say if you do decide to do that, that's gonna be only for individuals, right? Like, you really want to do something like that, use tags to make it easier, because then you're not having to do, knock them out like that, right? So that's another thought here, right? So, but let's go back here. Now I'm gonna kind of go down here on the side and look at some of these side things, right? So again, you can see this is probably where that passed, yep, membership expired, yep, that was it. So, yeah, that's what happens when the membership does expire. Now the contacts, we're gonna have those contacts again. Again, we already saw this when we did some of the filtering up here on the top. Now we can actually look at our breakdown of our membership. This looks very similar to how it did with our emails, right? When you were trying to select your email. This also has a nice cool thing here. If you have pending members, you have a little thing up here that says X amount of member pending validation, right? So it's going to be in that same type of blue font that we just saw, the same type of blue thing up here. And you would click on that, and then you'd be able to be given a chance to validate those members. So it's basically people who want to join, but have not gotten, they can join or only go as far as they can go before you as the officer has to take action, right? So, but this is another cool thing that lets you kind of see it in a different view, right? If you didn't see that up here for any reason, you could go over to the membership breakdown and actually be able to view that. And look, we do have those prospects pending validation. But you can also just have a direct link again to your club. So if you don't know that you have this, right? You do have this, and then this is where they can join, right? And so you click on that. And in this instance, I've got a secret word. I don't remember what I set that as, so it's a bummer. But yeah, that, is another option that you have right there.
I received a notification that I was added to that.
Yeah.
Event.
So there you go. Yeah, that's actually that's a good sign. We want those notifications because, yeah, that would help, that helps. So, this is the same thing. This you may not have. I don't know if this is a viewable thing. But you may, if you have this lets you allow a bulk upload. You download this basically an Excel file, kind of similar to where I showed, and then you re-upload it right here, and then it allows you to do that. But yeah, you just have to follow those steps. That is something that you do have. You can download. I've already shown you how to download a full report. This is another way of doing that, right? And it gives you more options to actually customize what you're downloading, right? So you could just have it just as names if you want to, and you can classify any of that stuff. So then you have, I'm going to just go down your custom fields, right? You have spots where you can have specific information listed. I would say this is a very much more of an advanced feature. And if you are able to fully do it, I say more power to you. But I'll show you what it looks like though, and how it may be very confusing, right? So if I was to click on and click on Carol in this instance, that's where the custom fields come in, right? So if I had specific information that I wanted to share or have about her, right? That's where I would have that information. You can also though make it, these are text boxes, but they can be anything else, right? These notes, obviously, right? Cheryl says she didn't like peanut butter. And then I say post that right there. And then I don't, then that can be yeah, that's a note right there, and then or she couldn't be able to, so yeah, there's all those different things that you can do right there, right? Now that's gonna be on there forever. It's gonna do it. I know that you don't like being for it's gonna be kind of embarrassing. But yeah, so and that's a whole big thing. So, yeah, you can add custom positions if you want. You can make them required, so that, I think this is, from my viewpoint of understanding this as best as I can, this is when, not only for entering in, like in a database, entering information, but this is also for when you want to create certain surveys or, forums, and you want your own custom information, not the stuff that's just, provided as part of WolfPack Connect. So that's the other area, but again, as you can see, I'm still kind of vetting that out, right? I'm still looking, so if you're able to figure it out, let me know. I would like to, see how, I would always love to see how everyone is using Wolfpack Connect for their club's own, needs, right? That's a big thing for me. And then last but not least, positions. You can have, and I won't go into the officer positions as much because I do have another training about officers that's gonna be even more laid back and even more straight to the point. These are probably going to be the two easiest trainings that I've done, because there's not much to them, right? But, yes, you can have your members themselves, they can have custom positions made, right? And then you name them, and then you're supposed to be able to then put those positions on the members, right? So you can add them in there onto underneath the members and say, hey, this is what their specific custom position is, right? So as you can see right there. So, that is, I think if we were to really summarize this, I mean, bro, this is pretty awesome, right? Because we basically start 20 minutes late and we're right on time. It's because I knew that this was only gonna be a 40-minute, thing at most, right? And I knew Meredith could check in late and it wouldn't be a big issue. But yeah, so I think the big takeaway for this is, right, like, this can be used as big as, be as useful as you want it to be, right? I mean, you can really find ways, and I think I've demonstrated kind of just as just generalized top down what I use it for as in ELT, but yeah, you can use it to really make things work really awesome for you, right? And some of these things I also want to point out that some of these things need to be set up to use some of the other really really cooler things, right? I'm gonna just say too cool because, but if I was to show some of the cooler aspects of this is I have automation set up for a lot of things that I need to have certain aspects already predetermined or pre-established, right? So if I was to look at my workflows here, right? I have a lot of different workflows that, so if you guys submit bylaws, for example, bylaws get submitted, and I have all these different steps on how that would end up being and going, who's all part of the team on that, to have that set up. All that stuff requires a level of certain areas set up. So the members are one of the areas, right? You have to have some certain members in your membership roster to be able to add them, say, to a workflow team, and then to be able to do it. So, and I'm gonna get into the surveys and forums. It's gonna be actually a 3-part series at some point, but what I'm getting at though is everything does, even within the stuff that seems to be the most boring aspects, right? They all have a spot that they're very useful and valuable because they build up on each other, right? So, but yeah, I want to take these last 9 minutes or so and ask like any questions. How can I help, or how can I help give some guidance or anything, right?
I have a quick question. I'm not sure if you went over this earlier, but are you able to add staff as club members if they're not officers on
You
the
should technically be able to. You should technically be able to, but they only have to be in the they have to be in the platform. So that's the big thing.
So the staff, like, if like someone's like a full-time staff, could you add them? Do they like automatically have a WolfPack Connect account?
They do not, that's
No?
the thing, yeah.
Okay.
Because of certain limitations with licensing, right? We bought this program we bought this program as a shell, and then we were able to customize it, build some of our own background into it, right? And brand it for Madison College. But that part of that though, besides the high price, is the user limit, right? The user limit and or the number of clubs or groups in this platform at any given time, right? There's certain different tiers. You go past the tier you're at, talking about adding a higher level of money, right? And that money is coming down from student activity fee money, which is money that each of you pay to be a part of extracurricular activities. But as a initial baseline for that, of getting this new version of WolfPack connected, it costs a big amount of money, and the best way to save that money was to only allow students in who actually enroll in classes, right? So if you're not enrolled, you're not in this platform, and then only allow staff members in if they have some actual need to be in here. And in that most cases, that's only advisors, club advisors, or admin personnel, right? So those are the only two. So I can say the good news with that is we are expanding that. We've seen and demonstrated that this platform can be used for a lot of good things. So we're gonna actually increase that user limit and that number of groups. But until that kind of expansion happens, right? It's very, very limited, right? And so, yeah, you would probably not be able to just add anybody in here. The only ones you'd be able to add in was anyone who I've added in. So I think we have 153 staff members in here. And if they're in here, then yeah, you could go ahead and add, but if they're not, yeah, they're kind of SOL, if I would put it that way, the best way of saying it, right? And at least until now, right? So does that answer?
Yes.
Did I do a good job of answering that question?
Yeah.
Cool. So any other questions, right? Yeah.
What do we have to do to like do the thing you want us to do? Like in the
Yeah.
like list of things that will get us money,
Yep.
it says
Update.
update manage. What do you expect us to actually do?
I expect you just to update membership. I'm not tracking that. And that's not a natural trackable thing. So it's more of I'm gonna tell you not doing it, I'm not gonna not give you money, right? But I can guarantee that in next year, we will have something like re-registration that we do for fall in the spring, right? This is kind of like the intro to that of saying, we want you to start really, it's like, it's getting the good practice and procedure down, right? So yeah, what you're doing by coming to this today, you're doing one of the trainings that you have to do, right? You have to do two of them, right? You're filling out the form that you get at the end of this. It should send out right to you at the very end of this meeting. And that will help give you some credit towards the incentive. The actual roster itself, if you don't do it, you don't do it, right? But potentially, by trying to explain the problems that could arise, though, it's worth your guys' time not only to be able to reach and talk to your membership, but potentially get things like track incentives right? Because, yeah, I mean, I do know that we did have an issue last semester where in this case, it was an advisor was helping to do some of the incentive stuff. They no longer were associated with the group, and then that group didn't have their own points, right? Well, that's a great example of not having an up-to-date membership. I mean, you want to make sure that those individuals are like either in your group or not in your group or not, or staying in your group at least until after the checkoff. But yeah, this is basically just an intro to good practice and with, this is an admin type of work in a sense, right? Most of the time, me doing my job and doing the user management as an admin, I wipe out most of the graduates, right? But maybe say somebody who's taking a program that's taken a long time, right? That maybe was part of the group at one point. Doesn't mean they're still part of the college, right? And so we just want to make sure that everybody is getting everything that they should. So You just have to do the thing, the 140.
Okay, so with what you showed me, what I can do is select every member who has not opened the 3 emails I have sent and send them all an email asking if they'd like to still be a part of the club.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, see it? See, that's exactly, that's you figuring out ways right there for that to work. That's a beautiful thing, right? So that makes me so happy right now. Are you checking your phone?
Oh, no, I just got a message.
Check your phone. Check your phone. All right, so that's it. If anyone ever has any more questions, but